Hey everyone, welcome to Farm Tour Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. So, we're over here with Toast, and Penn, and Denver. So, Penn and Denver are totally happy with this cold. It's 23 degrees out right now, with a low of 15 tonight, and it was like a low of 16 last night. So cold, not much fun. I actually hate the cold, so it's fantastic that my birthday is, well, today. So, in the middle of winter, so... I mean, once in a blue moon here, like I have had 80-degree days in January for my birthday, I think 2-3 years back, and we took our kayaks up to the pond and kayak, so that was fun, but I don't get that every year. Normally this is what I get, just horrible cold for my birthday, as much as I hate the cold. So, is what it is. Like I said, we're over here with Toast, so we'll talk about him real quick for a sec. So, his yard is still there. Yeah, I still got to take care of this stinking barn. But it just keeps getting pushed back on the back burner because it's not that big of a deal beyond that it's ugly as all get out. So he keeps moving his shelter, and I keep having to pull fresh hay and move it around with where he moves the shelter. He just stands up, and it kind of picks up with him. So, Pen, what are you doing? Yeah. But anywho, so he's over here for about another month, until we make sure that he has worked out as much as possible of the androsterone and skatole in his fat stores as possible. So that's why he's over here away from all ladies. If you haven't been following, Toast is the boar that we had kept back and really liked, but he broke his pecker. So he's no longer functional as a boar. So he will be processed at the end of February for either dog food, kind of ironic with Denver just staring at him, or as people food like salami and pepperoni and stuff like that. That'll be pretty heavily spiced, which is traditionally what boars would be used for. So we'll just see on how much, because not all boars have boar taint, but he's one of those guys that you get to scratching and rubbing and loving on his belly, which he absolutely loves and flops over for. He smells like a boar. Like he's got that boar taint smell. So I'm pretty confident he does. I have not done the biopsy, which is where you take a dermal piercing like people would use and punch it in the neck to pull out a little plug of fat. Like I said, it is a tool that is used on people routinely for piercings, so it is a totally normal tool, but the idea of, because then you fry up that fat to see if it smells like boar taint, that idea kind of mortifies me, so, or horrifies. I don't know, it's a bit of a mix of mortified and horrified. I'm a little ashamed of the idea of cooking a live pig. It feels like Dwight on his horse hamburger cutter thing from that episode of The Office, but yeah, so... he'll get some friends here in the next week or two. We're going to grab the intact boar piglet and the cryptorchid piglet, and we'll bring them over here to join him, because I don't want to run the risk of him accidentally breeding one of those other little gilt feeders. We've yet to have that accident on our farm, and I would like to keep it that way. So we'll bring them over here, and they'll join Toast for that last month that Toast is here. And then, I'm saying a lot. It's cold. I hate the cold. And my fingers are freezing. Anywho, yeah, so they'll join him for that last little month, then they'll stay over here for a little bit longer until we start figuring out where to rotate, and then as soon as they're out of this yard and can go wherever that's going to happen for the rest of the year as we start downsizing, this yard is going to get left for the entire growing season because it has had pigs in it for way too long at this point. It is ridiculous. I want to get pigs out of here and stop having them in here. So him and that little cryptorchid are probably just going to bounce back and forth between here and the L paddock probably, just to try to give them a break between the two of those paddocks. But I don't have a lot of options for them while I still have the other two boars. So until those guys get downsized, we're kind of trapped. So, but all right, let's move on and work back over to the feeders. All right, so now we're over with the feeders. All the feeders, they're all together, the little piglets and those 5. If you watch the loadout video that we posted, it was Sunday that I took it, and I think I got it uploaded on Monday, so yesterday, you saw that we got those 6 bigger ones all hauled out of here. So that was the 4 bigger feeders and the 2 cull sows. 2 cull sows got USDA processed, actually yesterday, and then the customs were today. So we got those all taken out of here and processed. We got 2.5 of those 4 sold as whole and halves to people with the down to $4 a pound hanging weight. So I'll be calling, probably not today, probably tomorrow. I'll call and pick up those weights so I can get the totals to everybody. and then we got back a half, and then the gal with the broken leg as a piglet, we got her back as 2 halves. So we'll have 3 halves of hogs. We didn't get them processed in any other fashion beyond just hanging halves, split, and then we'll pick those up, throw them in our freezer, and once our kitchen renovation is done, then I'm gonna work on breaking those down so we can do a bunch of cured products and make our own bratwurst and stuff like that. And we'll post videos of those things that we're doing with those 3 halves of hogs. So that'll be quite a bit of fun stuff to come up soon. Fingers crossed that the kitchen reno goes fast. I keep finding things in there that are like, oh, we gotta redo this, we gotta redo this. Like, we gotta move a bunch of electrical and stuff that I already knew we were gonna do some electrical, but all the breaker box needs moved. There's like nothing up to code as far as electrical goes in this house. So we've got a lot to do. I'm gonna bring in a friend who's an electrician to help me out on some of this stuff that is beyond my scope, because I'm not afraid to admit that there is stuff beyond my scope. So with the piglets, we have everybody out here together. So the 5 and the 9, because that one little feeder barrow got picked up the other day. So everybody's being fed around their bale. So they have 2 bales in here. Sorry, everyone. There we go. 2 bales in here to start working on covering the ground in this area. And they're getting their feed dry today because their whey is frozen solid. Like I said, it's 23 degrees out. So, and it was down to 16 last night and 15 tonight, or 17. It's cold, very cold. When it hits below 20, the whey freezes, like 25 or so, 20 to 25, it freezes. If it just hovers around freezing, the whey seems to stay fine, but it is frozen. So I'll just feed them on their hay for the next few days. You can see some of it there until that whey thaws out. All the rest of these are, it's funny to see the size difference between them and between those bigger ones, but like Cupcake here, she taped out at 250. So she's ready to go, but the other ones are about a month and a half, a month, I think. Yeah, it's exactly a month younger than her. So I'm gonna give her another month. She is 7 or 8 months old. No, 8 or 9. She's 8 or 9 months old. From when I figured it out the other day and I don't remember now. So I'm sorry about that. And then the others are 1 month, exactly 1 month behind her. So everybody's pretty well ready to go in here. So they'll all go as whole and halves, or we'll get them back and do more of those quarter hog bundles that we did, which are 50-pound bundles of a mix of cuts that you would get from a hog. So we'll have some of those still available, and then we'll be just down to these. I had thought that I would go ahead and process 1 or 2 of these on farm for us, but now that I have those 3 halves, I probably don't need to do that. So we will probably be looking to also just sell those, and then in 7-ish months, these guys will be ready to go too. So there will then be, like I said, we'll do 1. I don't know, actually, I've already had to record this twice because the cold made my phone shut off. But the little crypt orchid will probably process as a, like a whole roaster hog when he's a little bit bigger. Not much bigger, but about 50 to 60 pounds. We'll go ahead and process him on farm, scald and scrape, and then whole roast him. And then we'll, just because I don't want to deal with keeping one more intact guy that could run into issues and he'll have to be by himself and yada yada yada. So we'll process him on farm that way. But then that'll leave us with, so there were 7 to sell in 7 months as either whole and halves. But for now, everybody seems happy. They have a nice big area. You know, another one of our half-acre paddocks. They have 2 shelters, one of the nice big Quonset huts that are 7 by 8, and then that little lean-to. So everybody's got plenty of shelter. Ground is plenty frozen now. So, all right, let's move on to the, oh, and this is why it said that we'd had a bunch of move-arounds, because we'd had to shift them in here. And right, Red is no longer in that paddock. So Red is further down, and we're gonna go down and see him and them down there with Payday in just a sec. So all of the feeders moved here, sorted off the 5, and then brought the piglets back out to them and brought everybody in here and moved Red and them down there. So let's go down there and see them. Alrighty, so like I said, we moved them. So the dogs are up here. Hi guys, hi guys. So they're in paddock 7, which they appreciate that is frozen right now, don't you guys? Yeah. And we've got these guys bumped from there over to this one, and they have rolled over that bale, so that's wonderfully helpful. And these guys are moved up here. So they are corner to corner and have not caused too much in the way of problems yet, but you can see they're kind of lifting up and moving these gates around. But like I talked about in that short, we hooked the chains through that and we replaced the crummy carabiners with these, which any type of bolt will work. These are just the type of bolt I had on hand, something with nuts versus the crummy carabiners. Those carabiners, the pigs wind up messing them up. But yeah, so these guys are all here. I still haven't noticed anyone going into heat. Like I said, I was worried last week. I haven't seen him do anything. Nobody's vulvas are swelling, but there was that little bit of mucus that I thought I saw. So there was a little bit of concern there. I haven't noticed that with anyone. So I'm just crossing my fingers and wait until they start to get a big enough belly for me to tell. Really, Payday? Why? You have plenty of your own stuff. But they're all still here. They're happy to have the other shelter back. I don't know why, but they seem to like that shelter more. I think they just really like this paddock. They've got the hill. They've got bigger access to the pond. Everybody's really only got, it's kind of a narrow, steep hill access there. When they walk around the back, they have short access to the pond. So I think they like this paddock more. But this quality, this hay bale's much, much better. This round of hay bales, these are from the ones that our neighbor gave us for free. They're doing great. And Dose has finally been, for the most part, fully accepted enough that they let her hang out with them. Not like she was before, where she had to, she's still, you know, obviously not as integrated as I wish, but they're not running her off. So that is as good as that's gonna get, I think. And I think that about wraps it up, folks, because I don't think we have really any other big updates beyond, you know, we've taken those pigs in, we're getting back the halves for us to process. Our kitchen is mid-renovation. I'll post an updated short today, probably. Well, it may come out even before this does. So you'll get to see where we're at. We've got everything pretty darn near gutted down to studs, and then we'll move on to removing the floor, because I'll have to wait on the electrical till we can move that box, the breaker box, because it's like 9 foot in the air, and code is like 6'7" at the highest point. So it is well past, you have to climb on the washing machine to reach it. So not okay. So we're gonna get that moved. But yeah, as far as farm stuff goes, we did fantastic selling the quarter hogs. I'd actually recommend that to anybody that is trying to sell pigs. Try out doing some quarter hog bundles, because there are a lot of people that are willing to buy pork that want some kind of a volume discount, right? And it may just be that we sold them really cheap. They're $5 a pound, and our cost to produce that is like $4.89 a pound with the USDA processing, because USDA processing for returned meat, right? The amount of meat you get back, and with just your basic cuts and some sausage, no smoke, no cure, was $2.63 a pound. So pretty expensive. Then factor in your feed and everything else like that. So I can't keep doing them for $5 a pound. We're going to bump it to $7 so that there's at least, you know, it covers the credit card processing fees and sales tax and that kind of stuff. But it is a functional option. We had a lot of people that said, oh, I couldn't buy a full half because 100 pounds of meat is just more than they have freezer space for. They don't want to buy a deep freeze, but they did like the 50 pounds because they could squeeze it into one of those normal freezers, maybe keep 1 or 2 cuts out to be able to use that week that wouldn't fit. So those are a great option. Maybe look into doing those. That's your marketing tip for me for this week, from obviously, you know, great from your guy who couldn't market enough that he's stopping selling large amounts of pork. But, you know, take it or leave it. We learned in the end somehow, right? But yeah, so that's kind of where that is. We did sell enough of those. Like, everything covered the bills that I was really worried about hitting at the end of the month. So, Griffin, you were a goober. Yeah. Anywho, so we covered everything I was worried about, and we'll cover that. Covered next month's feed with the wholes and halves. So we're solid as we're starting to downsize. That covers us to well past when we need to hit those other ones going in. So as long as we sell some of those others at our normal price, we'll be okay, and we'll roll through. We'll pay off the trailer with that batch. We'll pay off the trailer, because then our feed bill will go down, so we won't have to worry about it as much of that. And then we'll have spring litters that'll time in shortly thereafter, and that'll help cover that. And then, like I said, we'll be selling some of these sows, so the process of that. So like we'll be able to pay back the investment we put into this and pay off the trailer and keep covering feed costs if everything goes as it has been going the last couple weeks here now. Oh my God, it's so cold. Sorry. I know I sniff a lot during normal videos because I do watch them multiple times to edit them, and so I see that. But now it's really bad because of the cold. So that's where we are. If you guys have any questions or thoughts, or honestly even just topics or videos you'd like to see, I know I've been really sparse on videos lately. I do need to get to doing all the videos that Ashley suggested on Patreon. I will be doing some of those. I do want to sit down and do a video going over cost analysis and figuring out, because right, that's why we're getting out of this, is because we are, especially since we sold a bunch of stuff, right? Like that could be enough where I could easily just go, oh, we made some money, like we're okay, we can keep going. That's why I'm getting out, is because I do the math, I do the numbers, and I know that like if I'm not hitting a consistent amount of sales, then I'm obviously, this isn't sustainable long term. So I can either then double down, or by this point it'd be triple or quadruple down, right? And keep trying to do this, or I could just settle back down and essentially homestead and produce food for our family. Which is great for you guys because you get more diverse content at that point actually, versus just us being a pig farm, because I may be able to convince Claire into letting us get some chickens again. I really pushed that when we did it last time. We had 250 laying hens and we did so many broilers, and her parents did the same thing. So she got real fed up with chickens. So she was like, no chickens ever again. Maybe if things are dialed down on the farm, I could convince her to let me get a small flock again so you guys could see some chicken content again, because we do have quite a bit of experience with it. I'd like to get rabbits again. All of this that kind of stuff may push till the following year, because we're going to do a bit more traveling next year. So we'll do that. So you guys are going to get a pretty diverse range of content coming up, but right, like running numbers and seeing what is profitable on a farm is pretty important to me. So I think doing a video on that and showing you like, hey, here's the things you should be considering, and here are what my costs were and what that comes out to, so that you can kind of play with those numbers yourself and figure out, hey, here's what I need to be charging, because that is something I've seen a lot of people post lately in other pig groups too. So I don't know if it's just people that were watching this, but I hate to get a sense of, a sense of self-importance where it's like, oh, people must be watching my stuff and that's why this has became popular, or if it all just kind of came to a head at once, which is more likely. So that's what I'd like to show, is like, hey, here's what you need to be looking at cost-wise, and that goes for anything, right? Like I can run those numbers, and I'm happy to run the numbers on laying hens, on the meat pigs, on selling breeder and feeder piglets, which if you're doing IPPs and you're selling piglets, then you're going to have pigs to feed out for yourself. And if you have more than just a single pair, you're going to have to try to sell pork in some form or fashion, because there's no way you can eat, unless you just have a huge family, right? Like 8 to 12 feeder gilts a year that'd be 2 sows. That's a lot of pigs to have to try to eat for your family, which we give it a go, right? We eat a lot, but we can't even eat that many. We eat 3 to 4 a year. But yeah, so I'm going to do topics on those. If you have any other suggestions of things that you'd like to see, drop them in the comments below. Beyond that, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Raymond and Ashley Hunter. If any of you would like to join the Patreon group, I would absolutely love to have some more people on there. It's just $10 a month, unless you want the one-on-one mentorship thing, which is $50 a month. And you can check all that out over on our Patreon. The link is always down in the description. Yeah, all right. Well, I will see you guys next week, barring, of course, any other videos that we get to put out this week. You guys have a great one, and try and stay warm wherever you're at.